About 4 months or so ago, I did a video pointing out all the reasons that it was more or less guaranteed that the new Mass Effect would not only be shit, but a steaming pile of extra fine shit. And now that the demos are out and everybody has had a look, it seems that I and most people who are capable of basic pattern recognition were entirely correct. Pretty much everyone and their pet Varen has pointed out the horrid olfactory mess hovering over the game, and it just gets worse the more time goes by. One of the things that was an instant warning to me right from the beginning was when it was announced that Andromeda was going to involve an entirely new character, be set in a completely different galaxy, and occur in a totally different time period. It was a warning sign because what this essentially means is that this game has no real reason to exist other than to milk a franchise. You've already stripped out the setting and the characters we've come to know and love, and in a game that was mostly character-driven with a deeply immersive setting, that's about 80% of anything that would be good or recognizable as Mass Effect out the door from the get-go. You may as well have just changed the appearance of some of the races and called it something else. At least then people wouldn't be comparing it to a much better set of games.
Stopping the Reapers is the only thing we should be focused on. It's not your fault.
But what if we're wrong? What if there's no way to stop them? What if these are our last days and we spend them scurrying around trying to solve a problem we can't fix?
Liara.
I know. I shouldn't think that way. I don't know how you do it. You've always stayed focused even in the worst situations.
When there's so much at stake, I think about my friends, loved ones. What I'd lose if I failed.
Me too.
We'll stop them, Liara. Together.
Ah, Pathfinder. It's so wonderful to meet you. I'm Dr. Suvi Anwar, assigned to act as liaison between your crew and the Nexus science team.
What do you mean, liaison? Are you going to tell on me?
Of course not. Not interested in politics. I advise only on the science. I've studied all the planetary scans. I've even had some hands-on experience with Helios soil samples. If you want, I'll send you my analysis on the native bacteria and microfauna. 60 pages.
That's a lot of pages. About dirt.
Oh, you don't have to be kind. I know it's barely more than a summary.
The funny thing is that they went to all the trouble of ripping out the old setting and characters, only to try and bring along their aborted offspring for the ride. The characters as we've met them so far can basically be summed up as not Rex, not Kelly, not Ashley/Caden, not Morden, and the ship is so similar it may as well just be designated the Not Normandy. I suppose it's kind of laudable that they managed to change everything yet make it feel like they changed absolutely nothing, but it's the kind of laudable reserved for a little boy who finally managed to go potty all on his own instead of making a mess in his trousers. My overall point is that I'm pretty sure the only reason they ever made this a Mass Effect game in the first place was to justify the reuse of certain assets and to buffer the profit margin with the blood of BioWare fans who still think that Dragon Age Inquisition wasn't a death cry for the company. Now, I didn't do this video to gloat to the fanboys who gave me backtalk about how I was absolutely right and correct. I have months and months ahead of me to do that.
Yes, I'm number one!
This is to respond to something that I've been seeing lately and I would really like to see stop. Okay, see this here? This is nonsense. There will not be any day one fixes for the animations, so can we please at least stop telling this to people to sucker them into buying the game? Aside from the fact that the lead designer has already said that the day one fix will not fix the animations, let's be realistic here for a moment. They will never fix the animations. Never ever. That would mean having to completely do the motion capture over again, correcting issues with the texture, changing the lighting, and possibly needing to recode lines of dialogue so they match up with the new motion capture. And if they were going to sink that much money into the game, they would have done it on the first go, and not hired a cadre of Guatemalan refugees who barely speak English to write the fucking dialogue. If it succeeds because the rubes will still buy it, they don't need to patch it, and if it fails, well, they can just can the whole thing. Even if they did somehow manage to fix the animation, it wouldn't alter the lousy storyline, badly voiced dialogue, weak characters, clunky UI, and the models will still look like they were imported from a PS2. Those will be there to stay. The characters will always have bland, dead-eyed looks in their eyes when they're talking, the derp faces will always be present, the voice acting will always sound like people in a movie or a TV show who have been specifically told to act like bad actors while they tell you painfully and forcefully exactly what their personalities are instead of actually having one. Oh yeah, and there will still be a fucking Asari who for some reason speaks with a posh British accent. Bug fixes only go so far, people. That's what happens when you develop a AAA title via your C-list team in Montreal, or when you hire people whose only qualification is handling amateur 3D modeling for random studios. Even if she wasn't actually the lead animation like that young lady put on her profile, it was still a crappy hiring job. Look, I realized that I was kind of flippant before about my being smug that the game is, like I predicted, but in reality I don't actually take any pleasure in that, because I liked the series. Well, the first 3 games anyways. I think the less said about the novels, the better. But some of my frustrations and psychoses with the other games aside, I really liked them. If this was going to be a good game, believe me, I tell you. But it was always obvious that it wouldn't be. Which admittedly doesn't mean you might not still like it. There are some shit games that I like a lot, but I realize that my liking them does not make them not shit. I can still acknowledge all the problems and flaws of a game, even if I like it personally. The reason I bring this up is because BioWare fanboys are some of the most rabid and cancerous fanboys there are, and I'm guessing I'm going to be seeing them again real soon as I post this video. But look, you're not doing this series in company that you seem to like any favors by ignoring this type of thing. Nothing improves without ever coming to grips with its flaws. You'll never get an actually good game that can stand on its own 2 feet if you just keep propping it up. It'll just die and rot on the inside, becoming another sci-fi mummy encased in a golden sarcophagus smelling of mold and dead flesh inside. Everything that made it what it was long since rotted, leaving only a withered husk, worshipped by virgin nerds who reek of Cheeto dust in Mama's basement. And we've already got more than enough of that in nerddom.